Hello, welcome to WFUZ-TV. I'm Blair Castro, and I'm here with Thomas Jenkins. And today we have Austin Sidwell in the studio, who's running for Alabama's 1st Congressional District. Austin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited that you're here, and we're excited to talk about this open seat. As many of you know, our current representative, Barry Moore, is running for Senate, so the seat is open, and we've invited all the candidates to come talk about their platforms, why they're running, and why they think they deserve that seat. So those are kind of the questions we're here to talk to you about today. And I'll start with, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run.
Well, I'm from Foley originally. We moved here when I was 10. My dad owns a security company that he started in Atlanta. And my mom's from Mobile, so eventually she got him to move down here. And so I grew up on Fish River, went to Foley High School. After Foley High School, I went to the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. When I graduated there, I went to pilot training in Enid, Oklahoma, and was one of those weird Air Force guys that decided to fly helicopters instead of fighter jets. So that sent me over to Fort Rucker up in Daleville, and lucky enough from there to go into combat search and rescue. Was at Moody Air Force Base for the first operational portion of my career, and spent a few years there. I loved the rescue community, but my wife, I'm married with 3 kids. My wife and I decided that we didn't want to necessarily deploy. We wanted some time back at home, so got the opportunity to go back over to Fort Rucker in 2017 to become an instructor over there. And so I flew as an instructor there for 5.5 years, and then separated from the Air Force and moved back down here in 2023 to start running my parents' security company. That was about a little over 2 years ago, and now we're here. This summer, when Barry Moore stepped out of the seat, we took a look at the seat and prayed about it extensively, and just decided that, there was an opportunity here to do good for our community. And I feel like I represent the district from time in Fort Rucker, living in Dothan and Enterprise, to family ties in Mobile, and to being really the only candidate that grew up here in Baldwin County and came back to work here professionally. So, that and the pulse of the country is just, I don't know where we're going to be. I've got a 15-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and I don't know what America they're going to grow up in. I mean, I think I'm right in talking to most of the voters out there. We're just a little ticked off. I mean, we're supposed to have a representative government that works for us, that puts our interests first. And I'm 36 years old. I've spent my entire life kind of watching the conservative movement give ground. And I think that the crux of the issue is we keep electing people that are tied to special interests and tied to a political career, rather than just being one of the people and being there to represent the interests of the people.
So I wanted to ask, speaking of special interest, what do you think separates you in a way from other candidates that are running for office in general? Not necessarily this seat, but perhaps this seat. What is it that stands out in particular about you, do you think gives you an edge?
Well, I've never been in politics before. And as we're out talking to people, you start with that and say, well, I've never been in politics before. And they go, stop. That's it. That's good enough right there. We're tired of what we've been given thus far. And so I think that's really my big edge. And then other than that, my time in the military gave me a unique leadership experience, and allowed me to grow and see, I've worked with some amazing people, and, some of the things that Trump have done with Secretary Hegseth is, advocating for a military that really focuses on, the warfighting mentality and getting back to the basics. And I kind of came up in a time in the military where I saw the bureaucracy really take hold under the Biden administration, the Obama administration, when I was at the academy and beyond. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen us waste money on projects that don't actually work towards the end goal. And I think that my experience there, plus the last couple of years working in small business, gives me a unique perspective that I can bring to the people of South Alabama.
So I wanted to get into the issues a little bit. What do you think about so you mentioned something, the current Department of War.
Yeah.
It's much more aggressive than it used to be under previous administrations. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a good thing?
They're aggressive in the right places. They're aggressive, one, with getting training in the right areas, with utilizing advancements in technology and tackling kind of the military industrial complex that has led to, decades old projects that don't actually produce the equipment and the resources that we need. So they're really focused kind of, being aggressive in the right areas. So when we talk about a foreign policy, right, I'm kind of a Reagan-esque conservative in that, peace through strength. Mm-hmm. The only way that we stop these decades-long wars, we go out and we handle business where America's interest it lies, and then we bring our guys back on, right? Venezuela, there's a lot of talk out there about, where is this going to lead? And I'm patiently waiting and seeing, I don't want to be there for a decade. I want to get in there. Let's get the new regime or the new president set up, and then let's get out of there. But I mean, my family, I think it's like a second aunt, but they were missionaries over there. My mom and my grandmother went down there probably 15, 20 years ago. And even back then, I mean, the living conditions and the people of Venezuela, like, they deserve better. And what is America if not we're the ones to go in there and promote, freedom and the opportunity that we have here. But we don't have to do that through going and occupying places. So I like the way that the Trump administration is get in, handle business, and then get out.
One of the top issues that I keep hearing about from people, even running for city council or something at a small local level, and it goes all the way up to the federal level, would be affordability, especially in Baldwin County, prices in Alabama in general, for food, for everything, cost of living, everything is getting kind of high. And what are your thoughts, or what is a plan, and what kind of mindset do you have on helping average Americans who struggle with affordability?
Well, specifically for our district, right, we are lucky enough to have, agriculture still as a base for our district across both Baldwin County and the Wiregrass, right? So part of the affordability, I mean, I feel that, my family feels that in the grocery store, right? So getting the resources to our farmers to allow them to, produce what we need, to get the prices down through local production, through getting rid of these third-party entities that drive down peanut prices, the third-party entities that drive down the prices and the profitability for our farmers, that really handcuff them. And that's, I was talking to local farmers here, is sweet potato crop, the peanut crop. I mean, everything has seen so much regulation around it and not enough timely adjustments so that we're getting, federal funds to the appropriate places at the right time to promote them growing and to sustain growth here rather than going to foreign entities and trying to bring it in. I mean, one of the things that I think is helping the most on affordability right now is tariffs. Like, a lot of people question that when it first happened, but we're seeing the result of inflation is starting to come down. We're starting to see gas come down. We're starting to see affordability come back, but there's more that we need to do. And we have a president that's willing to go out and try new innovative ideas to work on affordability, but we still have Congress that is sitting there and hasn't codified anything. Right? Like, we have three branches of government that are supposed to be equal, and yet we rely on the executive branch to both give the good idea and then execute on it. And that is not how this is supposed to be. Congress is supposed to be the one that codifies and legislates some of these fixes. So I think that really, in the big picture of what the federal government needs to do to help affordability is to support our president, is to support some of these ideas and get some things codified in law and stop being stagnant and stop delegating powers away from Congress and take back the power, right? Like, we have subsidies for the farmers that haven't been looked at since the 70s and 80s. Like, let's go back and actually get an active Congress in there that's willing to look at some of these old programs, look at some of the old ways that we're doing things, and get moving in the right direction, because the economy is moving quick. I mean, we're seeing what's going on with quantum AI and some of the fears around losing jobs. What is that going to do to the affordability crisis, right? Like, we're coming off of things being 4x, 5x, 6x more expensive, and then we say, oh, well, 70% of white-collar jobs are going to be gone in the next 10 years. Well, we can't allow Congress to sit there and do nothing and wait for that to happen. We need Congress to be out there and then, okay, if this idea isn't good, then we need to roll into the next idea and stop, Going back to the special interests that we mentioned before, like if you're focused on the interests of the American people and specifically in the House of Representatives, the people of your district, right? Like my district is different than other districts, and we have to advocate for the things that are going to help bring the resources and bring down the cost of living for people in our district. And it's going to be slightly different, but we have to come together as Congress, as a unified body that is both advocating for the interest there and then what we can get done as a body together. But none of it gets done when Congress is sitting there trying to make leadership happy. They're trying to elevate their careers. They're trying to not get out of office until, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. One of the things that I think will help with that is term limits, right? Like I think that we need to hold Congress accountable, and there's no reason that anyone should go up to Congress or go to work as a servant to the people of this district and be there for 30 years. You just lose the will. You lose touch with, your average Alabamians, your average Americans when you go up there for so long. Like, how do we even get to this point, right? Mm-hmm. Congress doesn't care about the price of groceries in the grocery store because they're not the ones that have little kids and a family of 5 that are actually out there buying the groceries in the grocery store.
Right.
Like, we need our representatives to reflect us.
Well, how can we incentivize farming so that we can get back to having better food autonomy and not lose our farming land, our agricultural land to development over time?
So part of that is the third-party entities and the big corporations that come in and beat up on the small farmers.
Right, or offer them a lot of money so that they can, set up a data farm or something like that. So just buying them out, and there's no incentive for a farmer to be just barely making it, wondering if the next year's crop is going to be as productive and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got them just hand over fist buying agricultural land right out from under us.
Well, that and I'll speak a little bit on a turn in the sense of this isn't a factual statement, but it's what I believed happened. We changed what our focus on the American dream was, right? Like, we wanted to talk about buying farmland around here, and a lot of that has to do with, the next generation is not there ready to step up and take over farms. Well, for the last, my entire life, 3-4 decades, we've told kids that the only path to success is through 4-year college.
Right.
Right? Like, you see the movement now back for technical schools and stuff like that. Well, why don't we advocate for, you don't have to go to college if it's not meant. If you need to stay at a family farm, let's support that farm. Let's advocate for people to build wealth here in the communities rather than going off and getting a underwater basket weaving degree and then yelling that they have a $200,000 loan that they've got to worry about. Well, part of that is us as a federal government, us as a society has made that such the priority that now it's overwhelming, kind of the basic functions of our local societies and our local economy, right? We go back to the subsidies and the just kind of neglect for where money is going when it comes down to the states and two places like the farmers. We have no transparency on where anything's going, but it's twofold. Both, we have to change the culture and tell people it's okay to work hard for a living. Like, it's okay. If you want to go out there and be a farmer, a plumber, electrician, we should support that, right? We should figure out ways to advocate for people to go there. 2, we've got to get these big corporations away from squeezing our local farmers. And it's not just local farmers, it's businesses across. I mean, being in a small business with my family for 33 years, like, I've sat there and watched how large corporations that have the resources and, whether it's they have the resources to get the correct lobbying that benefits them, it just squeezes out your small business owners. And so I think as a government, we need to have transparency on where our money's going and make sure that it's not just going to the first person that's standing in line raising their hand for it or knows how to write the perfect grant to get money. We need to start looking at distributing that money appropriately to the localities and the local small businesses that can really boost an economy.
We were talking once and kind of jokingly suggested an agricultural draft should force people into agriculture.
I don't know.
That way I'll die.
I don't know. It's I don't have a farming background, but one of my first jobs was at Fish River Trees hauling Christmas trees for Mr. Manhart over there.
Yeah.
And it takes a different type of person to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and get out there and do that type of labor.
For sure.
So, like, we have to build the culture that that's okay. We have to build a society that, it's okay. You're not looked down upon because you don't go to 4-year college. It's better to stay home and work in your family's business on your family's farm and grow out there. And I think that's something that specifically for South Alabama is an amazing thing. We still have that inherent in us, right? Like it is a cultural thing down here to be at home. We're proud Alabamians. We're proud of our family. We still have huge gatherings, but like, where do we go next? Like, what do we do in order to advocate for that? And I don't know how the draft for a farm would work, but how about we just keep countries from buying our farmland and start?
Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah.
Well, we can't even own chickens in Gulf Shores. So while farming is everywhere in the rest of Baldwin County, we're the beach town. You're not allowed to have hens, even like laying hens. You can't have them. But I'm working on that to get an ordinance so we can
Key West. Why can't it work here?
Right. We can't even have like 2 hens. I understand like roosters and stuff, but that's just one of the many things that makes. And I guess you'll have to understand this, and you probably do. But like, there's a big distinction between Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, and the rest of Baldwin County. And there's some butting heads. And something I noticed was that I think the cities need a better relationship with the county, and then the county needs a better relationship with the state. And everybody needs to kind of work together and not butt heads so much. Instead of fighting over what's good for them, think about what's good for our region as a whole or the district. We could all get on the same page. I think it wouldn't be a rising tide, lift all boats situation, but it doesn't seem, it's kind of been a struggle in past times. So we'll see.
Yeah. No, it has not. I think that, that connection back to the communities, like I said, having representatives that are facing the same issues in small businesses, in, still raising families, the things that matter here locally, that connection is born from having people that are living it, right? And that's taught down. That's from, the House of Representatives all the way down through our state, down through our localities. Like, we need people that are living it, that are living the interests that matter to the people of this district and the cities.
I talked about that when I ran too, was very vocal about term limits, and people kind of gave me flack for it. They were like, well, that's a state thing. That's nothing we can control here. And I was like, well, I would self-impose the term limits because that's what our founding fathers did. I don't think, I understand that. It's how it gets, put into legislation, but you don't have to be there forever. Like you said, like, isn't there a time in your life where you need to have people that you mentor and gift this to the next generation and create a legacy through your work being passed down to others that you train and mentor? I didn't understand that it feels so gatekeepy sometimes that people get into power and they just don't want to leave.
Oh, it gets worse the higher you go up. I mean, I was basically told that if I didn't have $1 million check to write, then I couldn't run for Congress. If I didn't have backing, at least $1 million kind of ready to go in backing, I couldn't run for Congress. And that is, to your point, that's not how this was set up to be. Mm-hmm. This is not some corporate structure where you have to climb the ladder. You have to start here and work your way up. No. I mean, our country was built on young men that had a cause, and they decided to stand up and fight for it. And it wasn't based off of who had the most, business connections to raise $5 million to go represent the people of Alabama. Right? Like, how does it cost that much to run in a congressional race where the median income is $70,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
So and we can talk about term limits for a little bit. So I just graduated from Jones Law School, so I'm not a practicing lawyer now. I haven't gotten to the bar yet, but I have studied it, and I'm kind of a strict constitutionalist. I don't want to add anything more to our Constitution, but yet I'm advocating for term limits. Well, there's a couple arguments out there against it. So one of the arguments against term limits is you're going to create a system where it's just, you've got someone in there, say 6 years, 8 years in the House, and then the machine takes over and they're just going to pass it off to the next person. Mm-hmm. And I understand that, and that's a risk. But I'm asking, what else can we do? Mm-hmm. These guys and girl, they're not going to give it up themselves. There's too much power and money in this game. So I'm going to self-limit myself in term limits. But I'm also advocating that we propose an amendment to get it legislated in on the federal level. One of the things, there's a lot of root causes for some of the problems that our government is facing, and some of we call it the swamp, the establishment, the bureaucracy, whatever you want to call it. We have to break it up. Trump has, I like to say Trump's created a crack in the wall. Now it's up to us as Americans, as voters, and people who are willing to step up and lead and run for office. It's up to us to bulldoze the wall down. All right. So in doing that, we have to get, to some common sense legislation just as a baseline. We need to stop allowing congressmen and anyone in government to trade politically on information that they get in these subcommittees. Right? We need to, that's a bill that's literally in committee right now, but they're never going to have enough votes with the current, the current congressmen that are in place. So term limits will allow us some fresh faces to get in there that have new ideas that aren't tied to the system. And then we can attack campaign finance laws, right? Like we can go after some of this PAC and super PAC money that is prohibiting a candidate that's like me, that's not attached to those systems, from winning the best campaign, because I'm running up against people that are tied into special interests. And that is not, I do not see a way for us to break down that wall and finally get past the swamp and the establishment without setting some sort of limit on how long people can be there. So I get the constitutional arguments against it. I get the arguments that it's going to lead to even more machine control over the system. But if anyone else has a better idea, let's hear it. Because first, we have to get out and vote, right? That's the way, as Americans, as we the people, we take control of our government. We don't have 30% show up for voting, right? Like we have a district of 800,000 people and we're expecting 85,000 people to be out. That's horrible, right? So if we can't get people out to vote, then we got to get people in there that are advocating for creating some sort of mechanism to get through the establishment and to get some new candidates in there. So the best option is I would love to see all 786,000 people in District 1 get out and vote. And if they do, I think I have a really great chance, because I represent the majority of those people and just who I am and what I've been talking about. But let's be honest, people don't trust their government, so they don't feel like they have a voice in it. So it's difficult to get people out to do that. So then, okay, what do we do next? That's when you advocate for a candidate like me to get out there and actually go to D.C. self-limited. And I'm going to advocate to get term limits in there so that the next group, the next 1, 2, 3, we can start getting at it. It's one of 435, but it just takes one to stand up and start the domino effect that will actually get the results that we've been advocating for since Reagan. I mean, like, these are things that we have known as a conservative movement. We want smaller government. We want a fair tax system. We want transparency. We want accountability. We are not going to get there under the current rule or the current way of doing things. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that is what we have been doing for decades.
So you mentioned how nobody shows up to vote, and I'm very aware of that.
Yeah.
We went through something really interesting here, and that our local elections had a recount. Somebody paid the bill to have it recounted, and then everybody was really interested. They were talking about it online. A lot of people talked online, but in the end, who shows up to vote, and then who cared enough to come to this recount, which was an all-day thing where they manually recounted every single ballot. And we did. We were the only 2 people that showed up and watched this recount go from beginning to end.
For doing it. Do the taste people? I mean,
somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
It was excruciatingly boring.
We had no idea it was going to take that long.
We did not have snacks, and it was like...
How long did it take?
It was all day. It was like 8...
At least 8 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, but
yeah, and we've gone to events and heard candidates speak, and we don't see the age demographic of 30 to 45 years old out there. And what do you say to get that age group engaged and involved? Because it's nil.
Well, I first of all, I want everyone to come watch this podcast, but also go watch the podcast between Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson. They talked about what's going on. I mean, Charlie Kirk died trying to bring a generation along and get them to voice their opinions and to be active.
Yeah.
But one of the things they're talking about is you got a young generation that, with the amount of information that's out there now and a generation that has grown up in it, they're going to find the information. Well, they're a little pissed off at what they're finding, right? And you have a generation that now you have decoupled them from the system and they don't think it works. Oh, by the way, the median income or the median price for a house now is $450,000. So now you both said that the system doesn't work and it's not going to advocate for them. It's not something that they can have a voice in. Oh, and the American dream is getting further and further away from reach. I mean, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it worries me. It's why, I'll be honest, I've loved politics my entire life. I'm the guy that honestly was more excited about my 18th birthday so that I could vote before my 21st birthday, right? Like, it's just, I've always mattered. Now, it sucks that Obama was the one that was there, and I didn't feel like it mattered then. But we cannot lose the younger generation. They can't be quiet. They have to get out there. But we have to give them candidates. We have to give them a system. We have to give them people that they can trust. We have to give them a way forward. And right now, we're getting beyond the world of just hard work. Like I grew up in a small business family that's hardworking and you can't figure something out. You work harder and you figure it out and you'll be successful. Mm-hmm. Well, when you take their avenue to the American dream away from them, it's not a work hard problem. Mm-hmm. It's we are taking away accessibility to the middle class and the upper middle class now. I mean, it's impossible. I talked to a guy, one of my flight instructors up at Fort Rucker. We were up there visiting, and his son, amazing guy. I think I met him once. I don't really remember, but anyways, he's like top graduate out of high school. I think he went to a master's science school down here in Mobile. He went to Auburn University on like a full ride, computer engineer, doesn't have a job. Like, is graduated, smart guy, he doesn't have a job. And who is looking out for those people? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, guys that are in my generation, millennials, Gen Z, guys, men and women, you have got to vote. The system works. Right? The Constitution is the greatest government document we have ever, that's in history. The system works, but it doesn't work when we have apathy and we think that we can't trust that system. It only works through the people. And I talked to, a group of leaders in Baldwin County the other day, and I can't say it enough. The way forward is that we as conservatives say enough is enough. There are options out there. There is enough information out there. Go read up on all the candidates. Go find out where money is coming from, right? Go look. And if you decide not to show up, the same thing's going to happen the next time. If you show up, we can make a difference. So I just think that the younger generation, I think you're feeling it right now. I mean, both, I'm a Christian, and I love the fact that you're seeing an awakening on the Christian front. I think that it's important for this country, right? We have, freedom. We want anyone to be able to come in here, and we have laws to protect that. And that's why it's the greatest country in the world, but it's also founded on Christian values, right? Seeing an awakening of that in this country, it needs to coincide with an awakening politically. Like, we in the First District of Alabama is the second most conservative district in the country. We actually have a majority of people that still go to church. We actually have a majority of people that still, they kind of adhere to those just foundational values that it is to be an American. Well, if we can't do it here, then where are we going to be able to do it? If we can't break through the establishment in a district like this then where can we do it? And that's my fear, right? Like I said, I love politics. I actually, in a different world, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I was going to run for something. Like I went to the Air Force Academy. I served in the military. I wanted to spend a little more time in business, but I spent the last 2 years in business. I've been around the small business my whole life, but I got small kids, right? Like my kids are at home right now, and I'm out here because I owe it to them to be here and to fight, and it matters. The why I'm running, because God opened up the door for me, and I don't think our country is the same in 10 years if people don't step up.
Something that bothers me, I guess, as a young person, there obviously is a lot of divisiveness in the country, especially right now when you look at Minnesota and you look at Charlie Kirk and you look at the way people respond to these different kind of horrific events. I think we're more divided now than ever. And I'm a Republican, but I don't always agree with absolutely everything the Republican Party does. I think there's corruption on both sides. And I think, we see people now like Marjorie Taylor Greene and people kind of breaking away. She's still a conservative, but she is breaking away from some of the, positions of the party so much. And I guess my question would be, are you willing to break with the party if need be for what you feel is like morally right?
Absolutely. No question about it. I mean, that is, and it's, yes, they're two sides of this coin. There's the moral issues, right? I'll say it right here, and the Republican Party's backed off of it a little bit, but life is life at conception, right? That is one of those moral things I will never back off of. But also, it's also a political thing too, because the interests of this district they're not the same on a national scale. I always get really frustrated because you hear politicians that are running for representative of a district, and you're only talking MAGA, America First talking points. Well, national talking points, it's not a one size fits all thing. So sometimes, I've disagreed with the decisions President Trump has made in the past. I'll disagree with him in the future, because there's only one perfect man that ever lived, and his name's Jesus Christ. Like, people make mistakes, but I'm not tied to that, right? Like, I've been a Republican my entire life. I'll be a Republican till the day I die, unless they change their foundational principles. But I also know that South Alabama is a unique place, and it deserves a representative that is willing to come out and say, you know what, I'm going to fight for my district over certain issues, right? Like, we got to come together, and there's compromise, there's politics in it, and I get that, and I'll work with anybody. I'll sit down and, have that conversation, we'll hash it out. But when it comes to moral issues, and when it comes to my district coming first, 100%. That is what I will do. That is what we're supposed to do. Part of how our Congress is split is you have even representation in the Senate, right? We can get into a conversation about direct elective senators and how that was not a great thing to happen.
Yes.
But they're equal representative. They're supposed to represent the state and the issues as a whole. Then when you get on the House side, it is supposed to be, you are fighting and scratching and clawing for the interests of your district. So I think anyone that says anything otherwise is lying to you, and they're not putting the interest of the people they're supposed to represent first.
So I had one question. If you get into Congress, what committees or subcommittees would you want to be on if you had your choice?
Anything military related. I think that whereas it's not a requirement to have been in the military to be on any of the committees that are making these decisions, I think it helps. And I think that we've seen a dwindling number of vets that are in the committees, and we see what has happened to our military thus far. So I would like to be on anything that has to do with where the money goes for our military, right? Like, one of the things that bothered me when I was at Fort Rucker was, we'd spend the way government money works is there's always a pot of money, and you get allocated that amount of money, and if you don't spend it by the end of the fiscal year, you get less money the next year. So what happens is you get to, say, September 15th, and there's still money in the pot and they want that money next year, well, they'll go out and buy, we call it like Gucci gear for us as pilots. And that's fine. I think our military members, they should get things like watches and stuff when the money's there and it contributes to the mission. But also I'd get frustrated because all I wanted was Bose headsets in our helmets that we were flying with, because you fly a helicopter for 10 years and you're going to lose your hearing or have tinnitus. And why are we doing things that are preventative to that? Well, a lot of it goes back to how the money is allocated and how we deal with acquisitions contracts in the military, right? Like you build out these contracts and you're seeing it right now. I saw the Secretary of the Army come out and say, what he 3D printed a piece that said, this is, I don't know, what, $1. And yet, the contract price for it's $12,000, right? It's all over the place in our military. And I think that it's up to Congress with the power of the purse to rein in some of that, to actually win on some of these contracts, right? Like as a business person, I'd love to get a government contract from the standpoint of, they're good, they're reliable, they pay, but you don't have to screw over the government in the process. And because we're the taxpayers, it's our money that ultimately gets put out there, and I'd rather see the money go to common sense places. I don't think there's anyone that should be flying in the United States Air Force that doesn't have the appropriate ear protection to keep them from being automatically 10% disabled when they get out. Right? It saves for years, but they couldn't do it because there's a process there that is convoluted, and it's the bureaucracy. And so, long answer to your simple question. Anything in the military, obviously, everyone wants to be on appropriations because that's how you get money back to your district. And I think that I would be great there. Like I said, I represent the district really well. I know the interests of this district. I understand, when you're talking about allocating money across the district, you've got Fort Rucker that is the backbone of the wiregrass up there. You've got Baldwin County, who really doesn't get much federal support for any of the projects we have here. You've got the I-10 bridge, that's an interstate project that the federal government's allocating less than a fourth of the money required to build that bridge. Is going to lead to a toll here, right? So being on the appropriations to be able to make sure that money goes to the right places in our district would be awesome.
Speaking of money, are you taking PAC money? Why and why not?
So I think that there's misunderstanding on what exactly PAC money is, and probably every candidate would say that. I don't know. I'm not taking any money with strings attached to it, right? So, there's local PACs. There's PACs here in Baldwin County that are a group of citizens in an area, and they scrounge together money and they build what a PAC, and take money from that because it's tied to local interest. It's tied to, advocating for real people here in the district. And there are some conservative groups out there that I pretty much agree with everything that they stand for. I'll take money from that, but I am not taking any money that's going to come back and say, well, what do we get for this? No, you don't get anything ahead of anyone. I would like to get money from the sheer fact of I'm the best candidate in this race. And in order to get elected as the best candidate in the race, you got to raise some money. So that'll be my stance. I'm going up to D.C. next week. So, anyone that I have a conversation with up there, you've got to get money to run this race. But I'm going to tell you, you don't get, to skip to the front of the line just because you supported my campaign.
Right. Well, if people here want to learn more about you or they want to get involved and help you, tell them how they should do that.
We're on all social media. It's Sidwell for Congress across the board. If you want to donate or volunteer, please go to sidwellforcongress.com. We would love to have your help. And just like I explained, I'm not taking money with special interests tied to it. I am here strictly to advocate for the people of District 1 in the state of Alabama. And in order to get someone like me elected, we need your help. We need people's help. I don't care if it's $5, $10, $20. We talked a lot about affordability today, right? Like, I understand. And I'm advocating for us getting all of this big money out of elections, but in order for us to be competitive and to get up there and to make a difference, I'm going to need some support. So if you're out there, donate on the website. I've had people reach out to me on Facebook Messenger just to see if we could get a coffee. I would talk to anybody. My cell phone number is out there. If you message me, I will get you my cell phone number. My team will get you my cell phone number. We will have a conversation because it is about you. And I think once you have a conversation with me, it may be worth $20 or $100 to donate to this campaign because we've got momentum and being the Baldwin County deserves a voice, and 60% of the voting block, and I'm the only candidate that is from here and runs a local business here. I am Baldwin County. So Baldwin County, if you want to have representation that represents your interests, I'm here. So sidwellforcongress.com.
And just for anybody watching this, I saw him speak at an event, and it was an event that had quite a few speakers, and he definitely did stand out. He was very different in his speaking, that it was him. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't fake. It was one of the more authentic people I've heard speak. So I definitely would encourage you to reach out. And also the primary election is May 19th.
May 19th. That's it. Thank you, Blair. Really appreciate that.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
WFUZ-TV, Coastal Alabama, Northwest Florida, the People's Voice.